Good morning and welcome everyone. Councilmember Dos Santos Tan, can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Councilmember Dos Santos Tan, would you like to introduce your guest giving us the message of aloha?
Yes, today we have Travis Sager, who is the senior pastor at the Honolulu Central Seventh-day Adventist Church. Arriving in June 2019 from Chicago, he's guided their congregation through COVID, a long overdue $1 million renovation, and a doubling of the church's attendance. Pastor Sager earned a Master's of Divinity from Andrews University in Michigan and a PhD in expository preaching from the University of Liverpool in England. He's married to Renee, a second-grade teacher at Red Hill Elementary School, with one son who's a senior at Hawaiian Mission Academy. While now nestled near the Mauka end of Nu'uanu Avenue, the Honolulu Central SDA Church first opened its doors in 1908, closer to downtown. The congregation called several places home before building its current facility next to the Royal Mausoleum in 1973 and 1974. The church serves its community by allowing its parking lot to be used for events by groups like Nu'uanu Mortuary, the Mausoleum, Ma'imai Elementary School, Hawaii Baptist Academy, the American Cancer Society, and Craigside Assisted Living Center, among others. The church also hosts a variety of events for the community, including a Zumba club that meets there twice a week. The Oahu ALS Society hosts its annual Christmas party on the large church lanai, and the church also provides meals for one of the area's transitional housing facilities. They also host 4 smaller churches in addition to themselves, and a preschool. So, Father Sager, for the message of aloha.
All right, thank you so much, Representative Dos Santos Tan. Happy to be here today, and wonderful to be part of your ohana here on the island of Oahu, and thank you so much for the invitation. In the Bible, in the book of Exodus, God approaches Moses because the people are being held in slavery by the Egyptians. And God over and over tells Moses, I want you to go before the king of Egypt and tell him to free my people. And Moses continues to say no, over and over and over. And finally, God says to Moses, what is that in your hand? What do you have in your hand? A few months ago, we were in our offices there at the church and having what was starting as a fairly normal day when one of the IT workers came down and said, hey, there's a man walking through the sanctuary and he's naked. So we got up, those of us in the office got up, went into the sanctuary, and sure enough, there was a man walking through our sanctuary without a stitch of clothes on. And so everybody got behind me, and I went up and I said, excuse me, sir, can I help you? And he turns around and he says, oh, I'm so glad to see you. He says, please, can I just get a shower? And so we immediately jumped into action. We do happen to have a shower facility on our campus there, and so I took him over. Even though we do have a couple of preschools, we had to try to time our walk through the parking lot a little bit, but we took him over there. We got him set up for a shower. My janitor immediately went down to our community services space where we keep extra clothing and such, and found some things that he thought would fit the man. My secretary immediately went upstairs and started preparing something for him to eat. And so we, about 30 minutes later, had him completely squared away, and he said, well, I'm going to be going to another church down the hill, and he says, could you give me a pair of shoes? And the only thing I had was my slippers in the trunk of my car, and so I got him those, and he was off on his way. Now, my normal reaction is I like to work with city and county and state agencies because I believe that, you know, in working with folks, long-term help is always the best that you can do. But this was an individual who who found his way to us, and what we had available, we gave to him. And so the reason I tell you this is to ask the question of the city council members, what is in your hand? You have been gifted by the residents of Oahu. You've been gifted this position. And I do believe that God, to a degree, is responsible for you being here. And so I hope that you would, as you have your discussions today and as you enter into your decision making, that you would remember you have been given this tremendous privilege, and that you would use what's been given to you to the best of your ability and to the best for the people of Oahu. And if you don't mind, I want to take just a moment to pray a special blessing on you. Our gracious Father in heaven, we just want to pause. We just want to lift up this council member to you. We want to lift up to you everyone here in the city and county of Honolulu. And we just pray your wisdom, your guidance, your blessing. We don't ask that we all agree, but we do ask, Lord, that we always act in a way and in a manner that would be presentable to the people here and before you. We lift this up in the name of your Son. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Members, before we begin, I'd like to congratulate and thank Vicky Chung, Council Assistant, Supervisor, and Joy Yamane, here to my left, Committee Aide, for 45 and 35 years of service. Yeah. They were offered the opportunity to be recognized today by you, Mr. Mayor, for their service in the City Awards program at Blaisdell Center, but instead they opted to work here with us today. So thank you both and congratulations, and we're so proud and lucky to have you here at the city. I have a few procedural announcements before we start. Although remote testimony is being permitted, this is a regular meeting and not a remote meeting by interactive conference technology under Hawaii Revised Statute Section 92-3.7. Therefore, the meeting will continue notwithstanding the loss of audiovisual communication with remote testifiers or loss of the public broadcast of the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda, either in person, in the council chamber, or remotely. Before testifying, each person shall state their full name and the agenda item they are testifying on. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 3-minute presentation on public, hearing, and new business items, and a 1-minute presentation on all other items. Registered in-person testifiers will be called first. When your name is called, please proceed to the podium and begin by stating your name and the item you will be speaking on. When I call for anyone who has not registered to speak in person, please line up to the right of the podium, and when it is your turn, proceed to the podium. Begin by stating your name and the item you'll be speaking on. All persons who have registered to testify remotely by video conference or phone will then be called. When your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. When I call for anyone else standing by remotely, please utilize by Zoom raise hand button to indicate your desire to speak. For those joining us by telephone only, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. The following are some friendly reminders and tips. Video conference from a quiet location if possible. If you are also watching the proceeding on Olelo, please mute your television when you are called to testify. When the timer on the screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. For those who are joining us by telephone only, I will identify you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When your number is called, press *6 to unmute yourself when prompted. Written testimonies, including the testifier's email address and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off all cell phones for the duration of the meeting. As I mentioned earlier, members, this is a regular meeting, not a remote meeting. And if we were to do a remote meeting, I have to agendize that with 5 days' notice. Unfortunately, our colleague, Mr. Talba, had to go on an emergency to the mainland. So he, I believe, will be participating. But because it's not a remote meeting, his votes don't count today. Yeah, so my understanding is he's going to be participating, but because it's not a remote meeting that was agendized 5 days ago, his votes cannot be counted. For your information, on page 17, EMLACR-281, request for authorization to settle a case against the City and County of Honolulu entitled L. Lindsay Mayeni versus City and County of Honolulu et al. Civil number 1CCV-21-000504, Circuit Court, has been canceled and will not be considered today. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Cordero?
Here.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Here.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Here.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Present.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talba?
Excused.
Councilmember Tupola?
AO.
Councilmember Wire? Here. Chair Waters?
Here.
Mr. Chair, 8 members are present, 1 member is absent.
Thank you. Floor Leader, introduction of guests.
Thank you very much, Chair. I want to thank everyone who's joining us in the audience today, but we especially have Mayor Rick Blangiardi with us, as well as members from the City Administration and all our city departments. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Vice Chair Kia Aina, motion to approve the minutes.
I move that the minutes of the 26th session be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers on the approval of minutes?
Mr. Chair, we have no testifiers.
Thank you very much. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, the minutes have been approved. Turning to the top of page 4, order of the day. The first item on the agenda is Mayor's Message 194 to be entered into the Council Journal. Members, pursuant to Section 3-203 of the revised Charter of the City and County of Honolulu, Mayor's Message 194, returned vetoed Bill 22, will be entered into the Journal. Mr. Clerk, do we have any registered testifiers? I'd like to start with you, Mr. Mayor, if that's possible. No? Okay. Mr. Clerk, do we have any registered testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none for entering into the Journal.
Okay. Mayor's Message 194 has been entered into the Council Journal. Moving to the bottom of page 4, Vice Chair Kia Aina.
I move that Bill 22 pass final reading, the mayor's veto to the contrary notwithstanding.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Vice Chair Kia Aina for the explanation.
This bill relates to the fire code.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, I'd like to call on testifiers. At this point, Mr. Mayor, did you want to testify at this point? No. Okay. Chief Samala, aloha, welcome. Please proceed.
Yeah, aloha and thank you. Good morning, all. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair Kiaina, and council members. Thank you for this opportunity for us to speak on behalf of Bill 22 and on behalf of really all the first responders represented behind me. I want to start first by reading the Honolulu Fire Department's mission statement, and it goes like this. The community we serve and protect are our families, friends, visitors, and each other. Our mission is to provide for their safety through prevention, preparedness, and an effective emergency response. And it's pretty simple, and I think it's something that both you and we do together, right? Our purpose is to protect the community. I want you guys to highly consider, Bill 22 and the impacts it may have on our community. I think we all align. We want to provide for a safer community. It's just more of the how we go about in doing it. I think there's other effective means of providing entertainment for our community while providing safety for all of them. We do a large part on the prevention side and preparation. That's where we need your help, right? On the prevention side, getting the word out, public education. Let us do the emergency response part, which we rather not do. We're trained to do it, right? But we prefer not to respond. If that's the case, then it's way too late at that point. So we really want you to consider all this, what I've said earlier, as you guys discussed Bill 22. And I'd like to give our battalion chief, Pauchi Huang, the opportunity to provide some statement as well. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council Chair Waters and committee members. I'm Pauchi Huang, Battalion Chief of the Fire Prevention Bureau with the Honolulu Fire Department. The Honolulu Fire Department does not support Bill 22. In the state of Hawaii, fireworks have been identified as a health and safety issue. The state has prepared several reports over the years with the following findings. Consumer fireworks cause fires and burn injuries, primarily to children. Fireworks produce excessive smoke, making breathing difficult. The noise of fireworks traumatizes some pets and residents, including our war veterans on this island. Responding to fireworks-related calls strains the resources of public safety agencies such as ours and threatens our ability to respond to other emergencies. Our data has supported this. Fireworks-related injuries and fires fell by over 70% after the ban on consumer fireworks. If Bill 22 passes, we anticipate a dramatic increase in fireworks-related injuries and fires. Fireworks are not only hazardous to the public, but I have to say, they may risk the lives of my fellow firefighters that you have here that respond to them. The Honolulu Fire Department's mission is to protect life and property. The legalization of consumer fireworks will jeopardize both. For these reasons, the Honolulu Fire Department humbly asks the City Council members to join us to oppose Bill 22. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the battalion chief? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Is there anybody else from the fire department who'd like to testify? Thank you. Moving to the registered in-person testifiers, is Tina Yamaki here? Nope.
Mr. Chair, the testifier is not logged on.
Okay. Next we have Stephanie Kendrick. Hawaii Humane Society, aloha, welcome. You can push the on button. There you go.
Thank you, sir. Aloha Chair, Vice Chair Kia'aina, Council Member Stephanie Kendrick with the Hawaiian Humane Society. We are opposed to overriding the mayor's veto on Bill 22, and we'd like to thank Mayor for his leadership on this issue. Hawaiian Humane has been campaigning to reduce the harm that fireworks do in our communities for many years. Excitingly, about a year ago now, we started to see progress. The state's new fireworks task force has actually been interdicting illegal fireworks at the ports. This is really the first time since I've been doing this work that we've seen a serious law enforcement response to try to keep these illegal fireworks out of our neighborhoods. I realize that's not what this bill is about, but opening the floodgates to consumer fireworks at this time when we're finally starting to take the issue of protecting our communities seriously would be a terrible mistake, and we urge the council not to vote to override the mayor's veto. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Kendrick? Seeing none, thank you. Next we have Tad Trout.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Madam Chairman, Chairwoman, and honorable council members. My name is Tad Trout. I'm a partner at T&T Fireworks, and I support a vote to override the mayor's veto. For the past several months, you have heard the arguments for and against Bill 22, but for one fact that I think most of you will agree on, complete prohibition is not working. To use a football analogy, when you run the same play over and over again, you usually get the same results, and the results are not acceptable. It's time for a new playbook, and that playbook has 3 plays. 1, allow the sale and use of safer products. 2, implement a robust enforcement program with fines and penalties when illegal products are sold or used. 3, offer a safety and education program that teaches the consumer the difference between legal and illegal explosives. You've seen the statistics. While there was a drop in fires and injuries the first year, take a look at the last 5 or 6 years. They reflect a substantial increase. Again, prohibition is not working, and it's time to make a change. That change needs to start today. I ask you to vote to override the mayor's veto and insist on a coalition of interested parties to come to the table and execute a plan for all 3 plays in time for this coming Christmas New Year celebration. Thank you for your time and attention and your consideration.
Thank you, members. Any questions for Mr. Trout? Seeing none. Next, we have Natalie Iwasa. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair, Council members. Natalie Iwasa for the record. With all due respect to those gentlemen over there from the Hawaii Fire Department, I support the override. As the prior testifier mentioned, prohibition didn't work, and the ban does not work either. We have way more aerials now than we did prior to the ban. And for those who are concerned about noise, the firecrackers that are currently allowed actually make significantly more noise than most of those consumer fireworks. So I ask you to vote yes and override the veto. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Iwasa? Seeing none. Thank you. Next, we have Vanessa Wen.
Good morning and aloha, Chair Waters, Vice Chair Kia Aina, and the Honolulu City Council. My name is Vanessa Wen, and I am in support of the veto override of Bill 22. The New Year celebration is a time-honored tradition that brings together families, friends, and neighbors in joyous festivities. As a child growing up, I have so many memories with friends and families where we would come together with fountains and sparklers to celebrate the beginning of a new year. What is still a time-honored tradition on Maui, Big Island, and Kauai has not been allowed on Oahu for over a decade. I hope the Honolulu City Council will relax the prohibition of sparklers and fountains by overriding the veto so many families and friends can share in the same fond memories that I had growing up. I appreciate everyone's time and attention, and thank you for the opportunity to allow me to testify.
Thank you, members. Any questions for Ms. Wen? Seeing none. Thank you. Next, we have Kendrick Chang.
Good morning, Chair Waters, Vice Chair Kia Aina, members of the City Council. I'm testifying in my personal capacity. As the prior testifier has raised, we are asking for the council to override the mayor's veto. This is not only just for individuals, but also for broader community organizations and groups like United Chinese Society, United Okinawan Society. There are a lot of other organizations that would want to work directly with our fireworks distributors in terms of providing safe events with celebrating our heritage, and I believe that bill will accomplish that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none. Members, that's all I have who have registered to testify. Is there anybody else in the audience who'd like to testify? Please come to the podium, and you can also stand in line going towards the clerks. Please start with your name and then proceed to testify. Aloha and welcome.
Aloha, good morning, Chair Waters, Vice Chair Kia Aina, and council members. Thank you so much for this opportunity to testify. My name is Ginny Tiu, and I am Chinese, so I understand wanting to, keep the culture and things like that, but I don't believe any culture should compromise the safety of our community. I think that should always be the priority, the safety and well-being. I thank the mayor for his leadership in this. I thank our firefighters who came to testify, because we should not allow any life to be compromised, whether it's the fire of people or our community. It is just not worth it, just for entertainment or for culture or for any other reason. We can never satisfy everybody, we know that, but we have to always do what's in the best interest for the majority of the people. not the special interest, which I call self-serving interest, because that's what it usually is. So I thank you very much for this opportunity to testify and ask you to please do not override the mayor's veto on Bill 22.
Thank you, members. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, please proceed.
Aloha, I'm Austin Salcedo from the west side of Oahu, and we've been heavily impacted, and I oppose any type of fireworks, especially on the west side of Oahu where there's unavailable HFD response time in ample time. I'm an agricultural landowner, and we're always subjected to fireworks, fires, and our homeowners insurance had inflated. I paid over $400 now, just this year alone because of the Lahaina Maui. We have to consider that the wildfires. In our area, in the Keao Mountains and Makua area, is dry land. We have a lot of brown tinders. So if there's any fireworks, have a permit on hand and available. But these public, they are burning fireworks on city parkland. So that's unexcusable. So this bad behaviors, so I have to support our mayor's intentions on this, in opposition of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you. Aloha, welcome. Please proceed.
Aloha, I'm Kale Salcedo. Just to inform the city, 2019, I had a kupuna. We had a heart attack because of the fireworks. And we have to think about our older people. You know, safety is the #1 priority I'm looking for. And for the city and county, HPD, the fire department, they can't respond to everything at the same time. If you're having a crisis of a homeless encampment, they're gonna have to pick who they're gonna respond to. Someone on the road or fireworks. We see fireworks get faced towards the mountains all the time. And I do not want our homes to burn. We're suffering already on the west side. We need to hold people accountable, and the city needs to hold your clients, your tenants that you're paying permits to camp on your beaches, on your parks. You need to enforce park rules and laws. Don't expect the community to do everything for you folks. We only can do so much. That's all I have to say. Community safety is the #1 priority. Mahalo.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify? Hi, aloha, please proceed.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
My name is Wallen Christian, for the record. To our HFD, I completely understand where they're coming from because I have family and friends who are HFD. However, we need to support them more. The problem isn't, well, let me rephrase that. Fireworks are a problem when they're illegal, definitely. That needs to be handled. So you folks have a multifaceted issue. You need to decide what you're gonna do with those that are bringing them in. We need to support HFD by giving them more manpower, whatever they need, not only for fireworks, but for everything else, because during fireworks, as this young lady just spoke, I know people who have PTSD, and that unfortunately affects them, as well as animals. As you guys know, I'm an animal lover. However, I will say this, I ask that you folks override the mayor's veto, because if we allow this to happen, then what's next that he's gonna feel, or any person in that position is gonna feel that they can overtake for the people's freedom? There is a cultural aspect to it. However, what I want to say is we have irresponsible citizens, not all, just some, that are not following the rules. And I think that's where we need to go back to. We need to go to the source. How are these fireworks coming in? We know for decades it's been coming in through black market. We need to stop that. And I do say again, and I say it highly, we need to support the firefighters as far as manpower. And I yield.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for the testifier? Is there anybody else from the public who'd like to testify? Is there anybody else on this side of the room who'd like to testify? Seeing none, members, okay, we're in discussion. Council, excuse me. Okay, I'm sorry, I've been told there's one person online who'd like to testify. Please proceed.
Aloha City Council, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of Roar Cares. And although my ancestors invented fireworks, I'm from China, it's culturally appropriate to pop it. In China, I cannot be in favor of sparklers because of the hazardous health concerns to minor birds and people. In the year 2000, a couple of days after New Year's fireworks were displayed, hundreds of birds were found dead on Kailua Beach. Most of the birds were minor birds and Java sparrows. From the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, a federal office which provides health reports for injuries and deaths caused by consumer fireworks, there were 700 injuries from sparklers in 2023. And also from the Federal Office of Department of Transportation, it classifies the safe transport of consumer fireworks as to be regulated by the Code of Hazardous Material chapter of federal regulations. Within this hazardous class, shipment instructions include properly loading sparklers to restrict movement. So it's very hazardous. It causes smoke effects, which are concerns to human health and the health of birds. So I cannot be in favor of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, is there anybody else who'd like to testify before we go into discussion? I'm looking at the clerk.
Sorry, the. Oh, wait, you got it.
Hello. Right down to this.
Councilmember Toba, aloha.
Oh, okay. Mr. Chair, thank you. Augie Toba. Sorry, lots of delays here. Testifying on Bill 22, 2024. I echo a lot of the testifiers that in favor of overriding the mayor's veto. I understand the concerns of the Honolulu Fire Department, but the black market for fireworks is growing and creating unsafe situations in our communities. At the end of the day, it comes down to personal responsibility of every community member. And Bill 22 allows our communities to shift to a safer alternatives when celebrating for the holidays. If this bill passes today, I hope the community exercises its responsibility and due diligence so that future councils don't have to go back and ban consumer fireworks again. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, members, we are in discussion. Council Member Say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to say a few words in discussion of Bill 22. Being the sponsor of the measure, it was a bill that was trying to address safe and sane type of fireworks. And being safe and sane, we're addressing sparklers that sometimes you see on our birthday cakes or fountains that you light and you should just hold it in your hand, throw it in the sky. My point today is that I can understand what the Honolulu Fire Department and those who are in opposition of the safe and sane type of fireworks. And at this point in time, I really enjoyed the statements made by some of the testifiers. It is prohibition that is the major cause of the black market. It happened with alcohol, which you people, if you remember history, reflects that. But for me, it's basically not just a cultural, but a question of civil rights, human rights, one's rights. For these particular products that we're talking about, the general public has to realize it is legalizing. It is legalizing sparklers and fountains and ground fountains. It has to be in the realm. As leaders responsible for the well-being of our community, yes, it is essential to balance these safety concerns with the desire of what I said earlier, our personal freedom and the long-standing customs. Since Honolulu's ban on consumer fireworks in 2010, we have seen, and we all have experienced, seen a marked increase in the use of the illegal aerial fireworks and even those homemade bombs that we hear in Palolo Valley. Many of which are far more dangerous than regulated display fireworks. While neighbor island counties that permit consumer fireworks, I'm not going to compare it because of the 4 counties, we are the only one that does not allow consumer fireworks. With a strict ban on aerials, our complete prohibition here on Oahu has led all of us to the unintended consequences of fueling the black market activity and presenting new safety challenges. I was happy to note in June when we had a public hearing, and for me, this is the 4th reading that we are considering. So everything that I'm saying, I've said before, and everything that I've heard as far as testimony, I've heard before. The fact of the matter is that this bill proposes a regulated alternative that may help to reduce the black market activity by allowing access to safer alternatives. Like I said earlier, sparklers and fountain fireworks. The current ban on display fireworks has been ineffective in curbing this underground activity. Yes, this past February, 24 tons of illegal fireworks were confiscated with the state task force. I would recommend to the task force that they maybe consider manufacturers of other types of fireworks or consumer fireworks that could be part of the task force in supporting the cause in going after the illegal fireworks. After years of attempting to control the use of all types of fireworks, it is clear that a new approach is necessary. And this bill offers a balanced and sensible solution, allowing for the responsible use of display fireworks while reducing the risks and disruptions caused by illegal ones. By allowing limited access to safe, regulated fireworks, we can direct celebrations in a way that may maintain public safety while offering legal options to those who wish to participate reasonably. Air quality and fire safety are valid concerns, yes, and I truly believe what Ms. Kendrick said. Sometimes I have to put my 2 Pomeranians to sleep because of the loud noise that occurs. But it is not the safe and sane fireworks. It is the illegal fireworks that is the cause of the noise. Air quality and fire safety are valid concerns, but they are best addressed through strict regulations and maybe public education and designated times and places for fireworks use, rather than an outright ban. And we already have a designated time, which I think Councilmember Councilmember Toba stated. We, as citizens of Oahu, should be responsible for our actions on fireworks. Right? If it's from 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 1 o'clock in the morning, the following morning, that's the time you can play fireworks. You hear it a week before New Year's Eve. And I've sympathized with our law enforcement, which the cause always goes to the Honolulu Police Department. I just wanted to highlight to the members also that there was an editorial in the Star Advertiser that stated that we are trying to address illegal fireworks. And in this editorial, it states, if I might be permitted to read it.
Please proceed.
That the Honolulu City Council measure called Bill 22 will not solve all the issues with fireworks used in household celebrations on Oahu, but it will certainly not affect the core problem. The core problem being the illegal aerials that cause fire, property damage, and sometimes very serious injuries, especially during New Year's Eve celebration. Its merit lies in the aim to focus the city's enforcement efforts where they belong on the pyrotechnics that causes the worst harm to the community at large. Aerials launched to significant heights land uncontrollably, and they are the most explosive fireworks when they are lit, intentionally or otherwise. Under the bill, most of the city's regulatory framework would remain in place. This includes the overall ban on aerials for consumer use outside of professional displays and the permits enabling those 18 of age and up to buy firecrackers at the retail outlets during set holiday periods. However, the council is expected to take up Bill 22 this month and for its final reading. If passed as it should be, ground level fountains and sparklers, which now, like aerials, are not available for sale to consumers, could be sold to the public or the consumer. The retailers must be licensed to sell them, but the buyers don't need a permit. The bill also would allow retailers and other sites licensed to sell fireworks to issue consumer permits to buy firecrackers instead of requiring the public to get their permit from the fire chief's office. The retailer still would be accountable to provide permitting requirements, such as the restriction on permits for those under the age of 18. This does add an enforcement mandate for the Honolulu Police Department, and city officials would still need to work on an alert process for reports of illicit permitting and the age of the applicant in consideration. Location for all of us is also an issue. The fire code affirms that no permits shall be allowed at any location where the fire chief deems that use of the firecrackers will pose a threat to public health or safety. In the wake of statewide concerns over wildfires, these are areas that may be of concern, and the fire department should define those for anyone who will be issuing permits. In the June 27th hearing, presentation to the City Council, the fire department did make it clear it opposes changes to the code under Bill 22, airing concern that increases in fireworks would increase the fire hazard. To underscore the change in public safety policy, officials cited the launch of the Hawaiian Electric Company Public Safety Power Shutoff Program to prevent electrical sparking in areas of high wildfire risk. Deputizing retailers to issue fire permits ideally would make the process more efficient, but that efficiency brings responsibility of oversight at the points of sale. Among the other rational amendments, the bill also would allow for a site health and safety inspection by the department. Finally, Mr. Chair, to bolster its defense of current restrictions, the fire department presented statistics showing a clear decline in fireworks-related fires after the initial enactment of Oahu's fireworks ban in 2010. Incidents dropped by roughly 2/3 or more injuries showed similar reductions. However, Mr. Chair and members of the council, most consumer fireworks are available in other counties. Efforts to eliminate what are long-standing features of cultural celebrations in Hawaii's front yards have been patchy at best. Since 2023, a State Department of Law Enforcement task force seized that over the 200,000 pounds of illegal fireworks. What makes sense is for tighter control of aerials, the most hazardous fireworks, through task force efforts, and passing Bill 22 to allow relatively low-risk celebratory consumer products such as sparklers and fountains could ease resistance to Oahu's all-out ban and take a reasonable next step. So, Mr. Chair, in looking at what we have here today, which is an override of the mayor's veto message, we are here to address an issue that, it's going to be an issue that will continue on in the future. But more importantly, I personally feel if we can figure out a way of coming up with safe alternatives and then trying to address prohibition, it would be a better start for all of us. So in closing, to the members of the council and to you, thank you very much for the opportunity to have this type of a discussion. This is the fourth reading that we've had, and I think I've enjoyed it very much. And I think the general public who are very much interested enjoyed it also. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Say. And just noting, this is your second to the last hearing that you'll be participating in. Okay, any other discussion, members?
Chair.
Councilmember.
Chair.
Oh, Councilmember Tapola, I'm sorry. Please proceed.
You're okay, thank you. Yeah, I just want to thank the introducer for his robust commentary. I think it was very thorough And I just wanted to lean in on a few of his points because even as I read the bill, sometimes it's not as clear. So just for clarity, on page 1, under 20-6.3, number 2, where it says, except that a permit is not required for consumer fireworks, the definition of that is the sparklers and the ground fountains. So I know that in this bill, it doesn't say anywhere sparklers or ground fountains, but for the general public, we are talking about not requiring a permit for sparklers, ground fountains, or things that are on the ground. We are still opposed to aerial fireworks for the safety of our communities. Secondly, I wanted to lean in on the point that he made about businesses being a part of the solution. Because on page 2, council members say, creatively put in here that at any time before or after the issuance of a license, the fire chief may inspect the proposed retailing facility and sites where firecrackers will be sold to ensure that the location is in compliance with the state fire code, city fire code, and building fire code. This is what people have asked us for. If you guys don't want fireworks, then go to the places where they sell it. This is what it's requiring, and it's allowing for the chief to go in and inspect because now the businesses will be a part of them applying for the license and being responsible for what they sell. It even says in number 4, the fire chief may adopt rules for administration, inventory, record keeping, and compliance of retail sale of fireworks. I believe that this is us getting this under management and having more people that care about the safety of our community be a part of the solution. So I do believe that this is a step towards safety and for, to lean in on Councilmember Toba's point about personal responsibility. In the law, it states specifically what time to what time on what days people should be using fireworks. And really, the only people that are enforcing that or have the ability to do that is HPD. And they're not testifying today because it is a daunting task when you have the majority of people doing things that really they don't have the manpower to cover everywhere. So I do think the ban is not effective. I think this is a step towards a safe way that small consumer fireworks can be enjoyed in families, but also a way for us to get the businesses on board and let the fire chief and many others be a part of how that distribution happens and making sure that whatever is distributed is safe for the public. So I do think the introducer of this bill, and I did read through it thoroughly and think thoroughly about how this could help us to get to a point where we are able to do enforcement better, because really laws are not effective if they don't have enforcement. And so if it's not being enforced, the community is very frustrated about it. And of course, HPD is as well. So I think this is a moderate step forward. And as many people have stated, it is actually allowed on the neighbor islands. So we are not going out of the scope of what is allowed here in Hawaii. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. I would first like to thank Councilmember Say. This has not been an easy task to take on. I think in our positions, it's easy to just kind of float by sometimes, but he listened to the community, and I appreciate him, sticking his neck out for this. And we did have multiple hearings on this, had discussions on it. And so I just want to thank him because I think it's really important for us as legislators to realize the importance of our role. And as we do so, find the balance and common sense that is needed. I think in my time, both in the state and the city, I've seen where we put things through that aren't enforceable or that don't make sense. And that's why I really appreciate the introducer, because he tried really hard to find that balance. And to me, that's really important when I support or stand up against legislation. I feel that this measure is really a good way to hear the needs of our communities. We've heard multiple testimonies on both sides. And I think it's really important to say if we're leaning one way or the other, I think none of us are against public safety. I can't imagine any of us sitting here would think, oh, whichever way we vote, we're going to be for public safety or less for public safety. And, as someone who cares about the community's needs as anybody else, I think it's really important to realize that government's role is not to regulate every single measure of everyone's lives. What next? We could say a butter knife is not safe. Are we going to then regulate the use of these types of instruments? To me, having moderate, balanced, regulated, common sense industries is what's going to address the issue, which is the illegal aerials that are really plaguing our communities. And I want to make sure that we understand, and I thank Councilmember Tupola for diving into the measure and really explaining things, because it's important for us to recognize and, again, offer the community a balanced approach. I think, the fact that we're including HFD and the chief's oversight and input is really important, because we're not trying to overstep any boundaries or take any shortcuts. And I want to thank those testifiers who came out and really shared, yes, we're not going to put culture over safety, but I think that there's balance that you can find. We can have both. And being the only county in the state that right now bans this, it doesn't make any sense to me. I think that there's a way for us to move forward. I want to thank those of us who supported this measure, and I think, we put it forth, it went through for a reason, and it's because overall, the majority of us feel that this is something that can be a sensible approach to having safe celebrations in our communities, as well as encouraging safe business practices here. But I really want to, as we move forward, I hope that we as legislators aren't looking into everything that we can do to maximize our overregulation of life here. That's not what our purpose here is. And this is, again, sparklers and fountains. I can't imagine a safer way for us to celebrate the cultures that's so rich, that makes Hawaii such a special place, but also be respectful and do so safely. I think that's what's really important, is we could look into what can we do to address the aerials and the illegal fireworks that seem to be plaguing our communities, not penalize every single measure of our residents' lives. So, and that, I just want to thank Councilmember Say for doing this measure, and I have been in support, and I will continue to support this measure, and I will state that I am in support of overriding the veto at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Wire, followed by Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. And yeah, I want to echo those sentiments and just say mahalo for reasonable discussion. I do think reasonable minds can disagree. I still would be opposing overriding the veto, just like I voted no initially. Understanding that, yeah, I think we've all played with sparklers. We all played with fireworks. It was fun. Was it smart? Probably not. I know we've all seen the injuries from various types of these products. And I, personally just am grateful for our predecessors that saw tragedies in our community and took steps to respond to those. And I respect that decision they've made. And I think as a community, we've lived with those regulations. I think having a clear-cut boundary makes it easier to enforce versus having to require law enforcement to go in and analyze what type of products are being used, and is this what's allowed or this is what's not allowed. I totally think relying on personal responsibility is reasonable, but at the same time, I acknowledge that this isn't the type of situation that only affects the individual making the decision, right? The fire doesn't stop at your house, right? It affects your neighbor's house. It affects our agricultural lands, our rural lands, and same with the injuries, right? And so in that sense, I think, I would feel compelled to side with our first responders, acknowledging just like we're talking about how it affects, our neighbor's home, other homes. If we look at data and do see that the number of fires are gonna go up, we can resource our first responders as much as we want, but if we're increasing, the instances where, the men and women of our county have to go in and put their lives at risk to keep us safe, we're increasing the chance that, some of them may not make it home too. And so just all in all, I do agree that reasonable minds can disagree, but would continue to vote no. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. As we have gone through the process and the bill was passed through the council, I did support the bill moving forward through all the hearings and all the readings. And maybe like me, my constituents are, I guess, not as vocal enough to come to the city council, but vocal enough to provide feedback after the bill passed. And I've heard actually, and way more resounding direct response from my communities from Maia, Honolulu, Aliamanu, Kalihi, that stated that they would like to see this bill vetoed and supporting the mayor's veto. I've had numerous discussions, whether it be online, via emails, or especially in person at the grocery store or at a shopping center. And I wanted to ensure that they understood that what I was supporting, and wanted to ensure that they knew that they weren't, what they were opposing was not the illegal parts. However, if you look at the heat map or heat island map index, you'll see that along with the west side, Kalihi, Moalua, Pu'uloa area are also hotbeds on our island. And it's not just that, but it takes a while for all of the smoke to dissipate after. And they understood exactly what the bill was asking for. And with that, I want to stand with my community and vote for my community to support the mayor's veto. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilmember Dos Santos Town.
Thank you, Chair. I want to echo the comments made by Councilmember Cordero. Throughout this process, I voted WR, and every time I vote WR, I try to explain why. And my concerns were about our ability to enforce and the fact that we continue to need better enforcement on the illegal fireworks that continue to come in. I also wanted to echo Councilmember Cordero's concerns, because I've also heard pretty loud and clear from constituents in my community that they don't think that this is going to help to cut down on the illegal fireworks and perhaps open a Pandora's box every time there's New Year's or 4th of July, or frankly all throughout the years when it comes to the illegal aerials and the loud bombs that rattle everyone's windows. Since the last hearing, I was able to send a letter to the chief of the fire department to ask about how they've utilized the existing licensing revenue that have come in from the existing fireworks permits and the number of fireworks inspectors that they do have. And based on the response, I'm very concerned that they don't have enough resources at this moment to implement this law if it were to go into effect. And I'm concerned that they don't have the capacity to cut through to really get to the bad guys if all we're going to end up doing is trying to deal with the sparklers and fountains and everything else. It'll make it, I think, a little bit more difficult for them to really get in and stop the bad actors. And so that's my concern, and thus I'll be voting no on overriding the veto.
Thank you. Councilmember Kia Aina.
Thank you, Chair. If this proposal, I know which is very well intended by Councilmember Say, was deliberated maybe 5 years ago, I think it would have been a different result in our vote today. But for me, given the, apart from community concerns and a post-Maui environment, our communities are more civically engaged in emergency preparedness across the board. We are no longer thinking about the impacts of just hurricanes and tsunamis, but in fact, of course, fires all across the board. And as a result, when you combine that with changing weather conditions, and I think our failure to adequately address the illegal aerials, it's even more important, I think, for us to be united and respectful of our emergency responders, in this case, the Honolulu Fire Department. I do believe that the city's Department of Emergency Management should play a larger role in overall coordination of the city's emergency preparedness efforts with, and I wish that they had been here to also partake in both the mayor and HFD's support of this measure. And so while I had voted yes previously, I've heard a lot from my constituency who are adamantly opposed to overriding this veto. Again, I think it's the wrong time. And I think that if environment changes over the next few years where we all collectively supported the city's efforts as well as the state efforts in addressing the core problem, which is illegal aerials, then maybe this issue could be revisited. So I will also be voting no against the override.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, any final discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
No.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
No.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
No.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Aye. Councilmember Talba is excused. Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
No.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 4 ayes, 4 noes, 1 member is absent.
Thank you. Bill 22 has failed to receive the necessary two-third vote of the entire membership of the council and shall be deemed finally lost. Members, thank you very much. Moving to page 5 from the Committee on Zoning, Councilmember Say.
Mr. Chair, I move that committee report number 319 and resolution 24-237 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Say for the explanation.
This is confirming the appointment of Christina O'Hara to the Zoning Boards of Appeal.
Thank you very much. Do we have Ms. O'Hara here? Aloha, welcome. Thank you for being here today. Would you like to say a few words?
You guys aren't staying for this? Just kidding. Aloha, hi, here again. Just wanted to say that I got to speak with Councilmember Say, and I have an appointment to speak with Councilmember Tupola in a few weeks. So looking forward to getting to know you guys and getting to work.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for the nominee? Councilmember Say?
Excuse me, she'll make a great appointee. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, members? Seeing none, thank you so much. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers? I believe we have Ivan Louis Kwan. Oh, there he is. Aloha, Mr. Louis Kwan.
Hello, Mike Ako, Chair Waters, Vice Chair Kia Aina, and members of the Honolulu City Council. My name is Ivan Louis Kwan. It is my honor to speak in strong support of the confirmation of Christina O'Hara as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals. She's my law partner. She's an outstanding lawyer with great judgment and skills. And I think if confirmed, she will serve with distinction as a valuable contributing member of the ZBA. Thank you for allowing me to testify.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Mr. Louis Kwan? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Next, we have Lindsay Orman. Aloha and welcome.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Council members. My name is Lindsay Orman, and I'm also honored to offer my testimony in support of Christina O'Hara's appointment to the ZBA. I practiced law with Tina for over 10 years. She is a well-respected leader of the real estate law community. She's a very skilled real estate and land use attorney. She's a dedicated and hard worker, and I know she'll be a tremendous asset to the ZBA. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none. Anybody else like to testify? Seeing none, thank you so much. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 319 and Resolution 24-237 has been adopted. Congratulations and thank you, Ms. O'Hara. Turning to the top of page 6, public hearings resolutions. Resolution 24-261 relating to the appointment of Keholani Pu'u to serve on the Board of Water Supply of the City and County of Honolulu. Aloha, Ms. Pu'u. Thank you so much for being here and your willingness to serve. Would you like to say a few words?
Hi, Aloha Chair Waters, Vice Chair Kia Aina, and members of the council. It's really nice to see all of you. I just want to say I appreciate this opportunity to continue to serve our community, be a part of and connected to the city in this new role. So I hope you folks can support me. Mahalo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, I'm sorry. Do you have any questions for the testifier? Councilmember Kia Aina.
Aloha. Kehao, you know, we miss you very much. I need to let you know that. So OHA is very lucky. Your new role at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs is a critical role, and it's very, very busy. You know that, right? And what the Board of Water Supply is facing makes it one of the most critical boards to be on. And so my only question for you, I have no doubt with your capability of serving our communities and your work at OHA. I do want to make sure that you're going to be fully committed to the challenges at BWS and the time commitment. In other words, it would be balancing what you have to do at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and making sure that you're going to be there for any necessary meetings.
Thank you. Mahalo, you're absolutely correct. Nui kahana, ma'oha. I did speak with my CEO, Stacey Ferrer. She's very supportive of my joining this board. I did some homework, looked up the board. I'll be meeting with Ernie Lau soon, and also watch some of the meetings. This board meets monthly for long periods of time. I'm very well aware of the commitment, and I'm willing to do that.
Okay, terrific, because you have a good board, and I do know you're replacing Kapua Sproat, and of course, she's a mana wahine like yourself. And so I'm looking forward for you to come on board and to continue that legacy of not only public service, but also looking after Native Hawaiian traditional and customary rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any further questions for the nominee? Seeing none, thank you so much. I do see that we have Erwin Kawata, Deputy Manager, Board of Water Supply, here to testify, as well as Raquel Achu. Hello, Mr. Kawata. Please proceed.
Good morning, Council Chair, Vice Chair, and Council members. Erwin Kawata, Deputy Manager with the Board of Water Supply. The Board supports Council Resolution 24-261 relating to the appointment of Kehaulani Pu to serve as a member of the Board of Water Supply Board of Directors. Certainly her experience, her knowledge, and certainly her business experience and expertise will greatly complement the board and serve us well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Kawata? Seeing none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is Raquel Achu available, Mr. Clerk?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, and Council members. Just wanted to provide support for the appointment of Kehau Pu'u. I'm sorry for the record, Raquel Achu, North Shore. I've had the honor of working with Kehau when she was with DPR and helping out our community and our concerns and support her complete ability to handle this position. And she works very hard, very reliable, and with integrity, and very much needed mana wahine to add to the Board of Water Supply. And I wish her well, and I support her appointment. Mahalo.
Thank you so much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, Resolution 24-261 has been referred to the Committee on Housing, Sustainability, and Health. Resolution 24-262, confirming the appointment of Trevor Abarzua to serve on the Board of Parks and Recreation of the City County of Honolulu. Aloha, Mr. Abarzua. Thank you so much for being here. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you. Aloha, Chair and members of the Council. My name is Trevor Abarzua, and in my professional role, I'm the President and Executive Director of the Waikiki Business Improvement District. And our organization works really closely and hand in hand with Department of Parks and Rec, and our team work with the managers and line level employees in the parks. And I think that we could I could bring a unique perspective into the the role and responsibilities of Parks and Rec. And I think that me being with representing the business community, I think that the businesses and the economic members of the community can bring more to parks, whether it's foundation, whether it's donations into bettering all of the parks of Oahu, like we are doing in Waikiki, like we did with JTB donation at Kohio Beach Park. So I'm very excited about the opportunity. I'm very excited to bring a unique perspective, and working closely with Director Thielen, I think it'll be a great fit. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Excited to meet with other members of the council. I've talked to Chair Waters as well about this, but thanks. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, Mr. Abarzua, thank you for being willing to throw your name in and all the work that you're doing already. You know, you do amazing work for Waikiki Association, and I wouldn't want this to detract from it. So we're going to watch, you know, because you've been doing amazing stuff for them. So I definitely want you to keep that up. Your civic engagement is stellar. I just have to say that. I've appreciated the meetings we've had and the leadership that you give on various levels. So yeah, I think I just feel privileged that you want to continue to be part of other parts of the city, aside from what you're already doing for the community. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Members, any further questions of the applicant, nominee? Seeing none, thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, Resolution 24-262 has been referred to the Committee on Parks, Enterprise Services, and Culture and the Arts. Moving to the top of page 7, Resolution 24-248, authorizing the use of overt video monitoring in the City and County of Honolulu in West Oahu. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chair. I know it's up for first reading, but just wanted to shed a little light, you know, due to a lot of things going on the west side, especially with crime. I've been working with the mayor of the district, and I appreciate her. Just want to give her a shout out. Thank you, Major Beckley, for all that you do. Resolution 24-248 addresses the gap by authorizing overt video monitoring in key hotspots. This is a tool we need. I know that yourself and I think you guys have one in East Honolulu, especially with the HPD staffing shortage. These cameras will deter crime, capture incidents in real time, ensuring nothing is missed. If an officer isn't there, the cameras will be providing critical evidence and making our neighborhoods safer. The best part is that the cameras are here, they're paid for, and they're ready to be deployed. They were part of the major events division, and they had it for different things. And so I'm grateful that we're going to be using it in a very effective and needed way in West Oahu. So just asking for support and continue to have good conversations, and I hope the community as well will be able to know what's going on with this and shed light or share their testimony in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you. I do believe we have one testifier, Natalie Waso. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Natalie Wassa for the record. So this bill, as stated, resolution would allow video surveillance in Miley Beach Park and the Waianae Police Station. And as I have in the past, I oppose this. You know, just because we can do something doesn't mean that we should. Quite a while ago, when they were looking at the Chinatown videos and surveillance, I had asked, okay, so what happens now to the neighboring areas? How does the surveillance in this one spot impact the crime in the other areas? I never got a response. But, you know, if you just use some common sense, people who know that there are video cameras in a certain area are going to take their nefarious and illegal activities to another area. So I just continue to oppose this. For anybody who doesn't understand my position, I highly recommend this book, I Have Nothing to Hide and 20 Other Myths About Surveillance and Privacy, because I think, you know, the more that we put these video cameras out there by government, the more opportunity there is for misuse. I'll just say it that way. So I ask you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, Resolution 24-248 has been referred to the Committee on Public Safety. Turning to the top of page 8, first reading items. Vice Chair Kia Aina. Oh, I'm sorry. Officer, you wanted to testify on the previous resolution? Okay, can you press the on button there? There you go. Please.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I'm the lieutenant for District 8. That's Honolulu Police Department, Kapolei, Eva, Waianae, Miley, that district. Major Gail Beckley couldn't be here today. She has a work function that she has to attend to. HPD is in support of the resolution 24-248, authorizing overt video monitoring in West Oahu. The video monitoring will allow us to provide an extra set of eyes to intervene and respond swiftly. Video surveillance provides evidence should it be needed for criminal cases. The visible security cameras is a strong deterrent and discourages criminal activity. And it gives the public a peace of mind and sense of security. The only thing I'd like to point out in line 7 on the resolution about the Waianae Police Station being underutilized. The Waianae Police Station, although the top floor is unfinished, it is a full functioning station, meaning we do process arrestees there, adult and juvenile. We do have supervisors and officers there at any given time, along with a detective. So it is a full functioning station. And although Miley Beach Park is named in the resolution, it may be beneficial to allow for more broad monitoring of other parks should it be necessary. That's all.
Thank you. Members, any questions for HPD? Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you, Lieutenant, for being here. I'll work with Major Beckley on any amendments needed, and I did work with her on introducing this, so we'll make sure that it's amenable to what HPD is in support of. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, I believe there's one more person who'd like to testify. Please proceed.
Aloha, thank you. My name is Salcedo, and I support Resolution 24-248 as well. The camera videos will assist our shortfall HPD in their enforcement and to deter, especially for the illegal dumping on the areas on the hot spots. And there would be costly of the money that's been incurred because of the cleanup of volunteers and everything. That's the amount of illegal dumping, cars, and all that, especially over KLs. We had multitude amount of cleanups of burnt vehicles, chop shops, because they burned the vehicles right after that. So these type of areas is hotspots, and the vandalism on our public parks, the restrooms. There's a high stream of vandalism. They're breaking our toilets, simply. So having this to give aid to our HPD would be beneficial to this. I totally support Resolution 24-248. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, as I mentioned, Resolution 24-248 has been referred to the Committee on Public Safety. Moving to the top of page 8, Vice Chair Kiaina, first reading measures.
I move that the first reading items listed on page 8 of the agenda pass first reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Vice Chair Kiaina for the explanation.
Bill 59 relates to plastic, addresses certain single-use plastic containers. Bill 60 relates to sewers, drainage, and cesspools, amending sewer service charges and other miscellaneous amendments in Chapter 43, revised ordinances of Honolulu 2021 as amended.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have registered testifier, Ms. Iwasa.
Okay. Ms. Iwasa, please proceed.
Thank you, Natalie Iwasa, for the record. So Bill 59 would ban the sale of single-use plastic bottles less than 1 liter in size in city facilities, city-permitted events. And I oppose this. We keep banning things, but the preamble to this bill mentions litter and marine debris, which certainly is a problem, but it's a behavioral issue. It's human behavior. It's not the type of item that is being thrown away. So a better solution, in my opinion, is to deal with the behavioral issue, not keep banning stuff. And I ask you to take a look at, things like supporting Reuse Hawaii or facilities where we can really impact the waste that goes to the to the H power, because that was also in the preamble of the bill. Look at ways to reduce our stuff rather than continuing to ban things. So I ask you to vote no on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Iwasa on Bill 59? See, now, Ms. Iwasa, I note that you also registered to testify on Bill 60. Would you like to?
Yes,
continue
thank
on?
you, Chair. Natalie Wassa again for the record. Bill 60. So Bill 60 is related to the potential increase in the sewer fee. So I just wanted to make some comments because some people have asked, why can't the sewer charge be paid from the general fund rather than a separate fee? And, you know, a lot of people, I guess, don't know that Hawaii Kai actually has its own sewer company that provides all the sewer services in Hawaii Kai. And that was set up as a requirement when Kaiser developed that area. So we are actually going through our own increase at this time. We pay a monthly charge that is fixed. So unlike the city, our fee is not based on usage. I asked the city administration, the director, when you folks go to committee and when you get this more published, that you also educate people on the credit that is available for yard usage, because I had never heard of that. So I think that's really a nice way to make it a little bit fairer, and I just wanted to make those comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Iwasa? Seeing none, thank you so much. I believe we also have registered Don Sakamoto. Mr. Clerk, is Mr. Sakamoto available?
Redeem them for money, and I do my best due diligence in recycling, make sure it doesn't ruin the environment. Regarding with Bill 60, the overcost of the sewer rates, especially for people who are fixed income like myself, is very hard. My concern is the military also uses our sewers, and I want to make sure that the military pays their
DES for, or E&B for Bill 60. So members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Kiaina, followed by Councilmember Tupola.
Chair, I do have concerns over both Bill 59, just not the intent, but of course the practical implementation concerns of such a measure. And Bill 60, of course, I feel that whenever you have significant increases in any proposal, you have to have an ample educational awareness campaign, not just for the city council, but for the community, because we're getting hit every day on different things, including for private services, right? Not just city services. So I'm looking forward to a discussion in committee for both these measures, but I just wanted to share that I will have concerns when we go to committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Tupola, followed by Councilmember Dos Santos Town.
Thank you so much, Chair. Yeah, I echo those same concerns. I am not in favor of bans, and I do think that us incentivizing would be better than punishment. I'm concerned about us passing bills that we may not be able to enforce nor have the bandwidth to do that. And as well for Bill 60, it's a pretty robust discussion to be upping the sewer fees, but also there's reasons, and I think some of the community members that have been working in regards to some lawsuits that have been brought against the city and us being able to possibly repeal or amend or, you know, see if we can't get an exemption. And I won't go into detail now, but I do think that Bill 60 warrants lots of more discussion than us just passing a bill to raise the rates. So I'll be voting reservations on both. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Dos Santos Town.
Thank you, Chair. I actually have a question for the administration. I think this might be a question for Mike O'Keefe or maybe Mike Formby if he's here. And as he comes up, the question is, I think the public is going to have a lot of concerns about the potential sewer fee increase. And so I wanted to better understand the administration's plans to get out there to educate the public about, you know, why these fees are needed now, what the plans are to improve, you know, sewer service and coverage by virtue of these fees, and just make sure that everybody knows the real purpose behind this.
So good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Council members, Mike Formby, Managing Director. And council member, the administration shares those concerns, and we have been engaging with the public, and I'll let Michael O'Keefe explain the process that the administration had to go through to arrive at the fee plan, what was driving these fees, because we know they're considerable, and we know that comes at an expense to the public in a time where cost of living is very difficult. And all of this stems basically from the consent decree that was signed in 2010 and has to do with our bonding capacity and our ratings. But that doesn't make it easier for the people. It's tough. But I would like Michael O'Keefe to get a chance to explain to you what we're doing, what we have done, and what we're going to be doing going forward.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Council members. Mike O'Keefe, Deputy Director at the city's Department of Environmental Services. So Councilmember DeSantos-Tam, there's a lot to talk about on this subject, obviously, but to address your question specifically. So the sewer fee increase proposal is something we've been working on for about 12 months or so. As part of that process, we convened an advisory group of community members, stakeholders, of about 35 individuals. We've been meeting with them once every month or once every 6 weeks or so since May. That group has had significant input on and in the development of the rates and the structures that are included in the proposed bill. The group, I mentioned 35 members from all walks of life. We have representatives from 6 or 7 neighborhood boards on the group, from our regulators, from the engineering community, from the hospitality industry, from the nonprofit sector, and the list goes on. So that process, like I mentioned, or I think I mentioned, began in May, and it continues on. Actually, we've had 6 meetings, but we have a 7th coming up at the end of this month. In addition to that, our department, the director and myself, are making our rounds to all the neighborhood boards on the island. And that process is ongoing. We started at the beginning, or I should say at the end of October, and continuing on through this month, December, and actually we have boards scheduled into January right now. Additionally, we've held a press conference, we've done a couple of press releases, but we're also going to be convening 2 town halls related to sewer fees. One is going to be in Kapolei on November 18th. And we're going to push more information out about that soon. And then there's going to be another one in the town area. I think it's going to be at the Blaisdell Center in the beginning of December. So that just kind of touches a little bit on the outreach and engagement that we've had so far. And we have more things planned, but those are the main points.
Any follow-up questions? Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. Aloha, Deputy Director O'Keefe. I was wondering if the department ever considered assessing or considering offering higher volumetric fees for those residents who consume more or larger amounts of the water than others.
So thank you, Councilmember. That's a great question. So that's actually part of the proposal, buried into the proposal. So currently, the sewer fee is comprised of kind of 2 charge elements. There's a base charge, which is the same every month, no matter how much water you use. And then there's a volumetric charge that's based on water usage. Now, the way the bills currently work is about 70%, on average, about 70% of the bill is base charge and 30% is volumetric. In the proposed rates, we're switching that ratio to 50-50. So 50% is going to be fixed charge, 50% volumetric. That will reward folks or empower folks to reduce their bill. Basically, if you use less water, your bill is going to be lower because your volumetric charge, which is now a greater portion of your bill, is going to be lower.
So there is a tiered structure in place for those who use more or less?
Yes.
Okay. And you said 50-50 is the,
Is the proposed. It's 70-30 right now, with 30 being based on water use, and the proposed is going to be 50-50.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Chair, if I could just comment while I do have the microphone, I wanted to just share my little concerns also for Measure 59, for Bill 59. Do you want me to wait till after this discussion?
Yes, please,
Okay.
if possible.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Director.
While
Thank
we
you,
have
Chair.
Deputy Director up at the microphone. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. Hi, Deputy Director O'Keefe. I know that you and Director Babcock have been making efforts to have the discussion about this, but we've known that the rates needed to be increased at some point beyond the 12 months, but beyond the start of the working group, right? Is that correct?
We knew that we have this large CIP program coming up, as Managing Director mentioned, and driven in significant part by our commitments made in our 2010 consent decree. So we knew that we were going to have to raise rates to get us through 2035, which is the required completion date of that project.
I understand. And the project is where again?
Sand Island Wastewater Treatment Plant. It's to upgrade the Sand Island Wastewater Treatment Plant to what's called secondary treatment. It's primary treatment right now.
I understand. And as the council member who has the Sand Island Wastewater Treatment Plant in their district, I definitely understand the need for the secondary treatment, as well as how much it supports the majority of the island. But I mean, we've known that this has been coming up. We've discussed this when, when I came on the council with the majority of the council here. And I think to really strap the council, but not just the council, but our neighbors, our residents that we serve with a bill, with a possible approval before the budget, as a budget chair, I feel strapped, because at the same time, if we don't do it, then we'll probably have to look for funding in other parts of our budget, possibly. Is that fair to say?
Kind of. So the wastewater program is designed to be independent and self-sufficient of the general fund. So so financially self-sufficient, basically. So the money that we take in can only be used for our purposes, which is the waste design, build, operate, maintain wastewater infrastructure. So yeah, it's and as far as the timing goes, we did look at this, doing this a couple of years ago. The rates wouldn't have been a lot dissimilar from what they are right now, but we also were, coming out of COVID, we didn't want to kind of layer that onto our customers at that time. And so now is really the best time to put this forward. And we're kind of fully out of COVID, where we're at a place where we don't have to do, although the proposed increases are 9%, we're not getting into double-digit annual increases, so we're still somewhat conservative on the rates. Not to say I don't fully understand that over the course of the 10 years, it's a very significant increase. But, all things considered, I think now is the right time.
And are you saying the right time because this is the real last time that we need to be able to pass this to meet our consent decree?
Yeah, I mean, we in theory, we could push this off by 6 to 12 months, but those, not to get into too much into the details here, but the first 6 years of the proposed increases are 9% annually. If we were to push this off by 6 or 12 months, that 9% would increase to something more, because we're 1 year behind gaining the revenue that we had projected to gain starting fiscal year 25. So it would just be more painful in a sense, because the increase would be more significant if we push this off any longer.
I understand. Well, I have to say, I feel like, Ian, your department is 1 year behind in talking to all of us. You started having that group 12 months ago. So, I mean, I think that that group could have been made, the discussions could have been made public or aware, could have been held in my committee, a few member of our committees here too, to discuss this. Because we're all a part of the equation here, right? We're one component after all of the components that you've looked at. So just wanted to share my concerns about that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions for Deputy Director? Councilmember Say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I wanted to thank Mr. O'Keefe and Director Babcock because they both were at the Ala Moana Kakako Neighborhood Board in making their presentation. And I was very pleased that the increments that they're looking at is for 10 years. But more importantly, like what Deputy Director said, it is part of the consent decree. I believe Budget Chair is correct too that this particular discussion should have happened maybe 2 or 3 years ago in formulating that the implementation take place. During the past 4 years now being on the council, the department had a lot of cash carryover balance in the sewer fund. And that's where I thought that was going to be cash CIP rather than bonds. Bonds, you got a 30-year note, you got to pay, right? So at this point in time, I just wanted to say thank you very much. You're grabbing the bull by the horn and addressing an issue that is a major issue that the general public doesn't understand. One final thought would be if you could follow the format of what BWS did in their increase in water rates. How not just neighborhood boards, but they set up different venues to educate. And maybe having the public school kids do a cartoon or a picture and getting the kids understanding, passing it on to the parents as a marketing advertising would be very beneficial. So in closing, yeah, I just wanted to say, Mr. Chair, the administration is trying their best. You know what I'm waiting for this month also? The landfill designation site, right? So you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone in 1 month. That's terrific. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions for Deputy Director? I also want to echo what the entire council is saying. First, that council members say that, you know, you're put in a very tough position. And we're put in a tough position too. So we're in this together. But I'm also concerned that the community doesn't really know what's going on as far as what it is that you do and why we're doing it. So just to be clear, there's a federal consent decree. We're mandated by the Environmental Protection Agency, which may change in the next few months, by the way, but we're mandated by the EPA to upgrade our sewer system. Can you briefly explain what this upgrade entails and how much this will cost?
Sure, thank you. We are mandated to upgrade our treatment plants under the 2010 consent decree. So in broad terms, in general terms, the 2010 consent decree consisted of 3 components. One, the first being an upgrade to our collection system, our wastewater collection system. The second being the upgrade of our Honolulu treatment plant in Ewa to secondary treatment. And then the third being the upgrade, the big project is the upgrade of the Sand Island wastewater treatment plant. The first component, the collection system upgrade, was completed in 2020. The second component, the upgrade to the Honolulu plant, was completed earlier this year, 2024. And the deadline for completing the upgrade to the Sand Island project is 2035. Construction of the Sand Island project is already underway. There's a phase 1, and then the phase 2 is projected to start in 2029. But that project is well underway. It's a very big project. All total, roughly $2.4, $2.5 billion. Phase 2 alone is budgeted at $1.8 billion right now.
Okay, thank you. So that's good news. The upgrade to the collection system is finished. Is that already paid for?
Yes.
As well as Honolulu secondary treatment completed in 2024 already paid for?
Yes, but I should clarify too. So what we do to finance our CA program is use a mix of, CIP program rather, use a mix of cash and debt funding. So a portion of our CIP is paid for with cash, but the other portion is paid for with debt, wastewater revenue bonds, and state revolving fund loans specifically, which are amortized over 25 or 30 years. So some of those projects were paid with debt that will continue to be paying off for quite some time.
Okay, that makes sense. So the ratepayers are paying off the debt as well for both the upgrade to the collection system and Honolulu.
Correct.
Okay. Now, when you cited a $2.4 billion cost, does that include the first two projects, the upgrade as well as Honolulu, or is $2.4 billion just for the Sand Island treatment plant?
So 2.5 billion is just for Sand Island.
Okay, $2.4 billion on top of citing a new landfill, which is probably going to be about $1 billion or more. Is that correct?
We don't think it'll cost quite that much, but it won't be cheap.
Okay. As Councilmember Cordero pointed out, though, any time to raise fees is a bad time. You noted that you were making your way through the neighborhood boards. I know there's 30 plus neighborhood boards. I have 7 myself. It's going to be difficult for you and Director Babcock to get through all 30 plus neighborhood boards prior to the budget convening. Is there any plan to perhaps have the other mayors designees at the neighborhood boards talk about this? I know that the Board of Water Supply, they have someone at every single neighborhood board. And before they raise the rates on water, they talk to the neighborhood boards probably 6 to 8 months, and every month for 6 to 8 months about this, to the point where we saturated within the community with information. Can you step up? I know you're going to do your best to hit all neighborhood boards and 2 town halls, but I think if people understand that this is a necessity, it's law, basically, it's a mandate, and how much it's going to cost. Can you step up that effort so that, and I'm surprised, members, there aren't more people here today testifying on this measure. But once they get their bill, they're going to be upset. So I don't know how you do it. Maybe TV, news, or commercials, paid or earned media.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. We'll take that into serious consideration. I should also mention too that before we started our rounds at the neighborhood boards, as everyone here, as I'm sure, is aware, that there's mayor's rep report that is provided by a representative of the administration at the beginning of the meetings. The information about some high-level information about the sewer fees was added to that report at the beginning of October. So we did put some high-level information out there, but I absolutely get the importance of doing a deeper dive with them and doing that as soon as we can.
Appreciate that very much. And also, just to clarify, there's a you're raising the fees 9% annually on the base fee, but also 9% on the usage fee, right?
Correct.
So it's actually, is it reasonable to say it's actually an 18% raise?
Well, I shouldn't say it like that. The net result of the increase is 9% for the bill.
Okay. And out of this, you hope to raise $2.4 billion?
Not exactly, but that's included in the reasons why we are raising the rates at the rate that we're doing. So the 2.4 billion for the Sand Island project alone is part of the overall 10.1 billion CIP program between 2025 and 2040. So there are revenue requirements associated with paying for that $10.1 billion plus our day-to-day O&M expenses. And so we model all of this, and we say, and we learned that, okay, this is the amount of money that we're currently bringing in. This is how much more we need to bring in to cover our operating and our CIP costs over this period. And that informs the rate proposal, very simply put.
Okay, I did just sign the re-referral form, re-referring the bill first to Public Infrastructure and Technology and then to the Budget Committee. So I think it'd be very helpful at that point to go through this with a fine-tooth comb so that we understand exactly what you just said, and that the public has an opportunity to hear that as well. Last question. A constituent, Natalie Wassa, mentioned a credit for yard usage. Can you explain what that is?
Sure. That's what we refer to as our sub-meter credit, or our irrigation credit, rather. So I mentioned that there's two components to the sewer bill. There's a fixed fee and a volumetric fee. All customers automatically receive a 20% credit on the volumetric charge on their bill. And that's based on the assumption that 20% of the water you use doesn't go into the sewer. Largely, we call it the irrigation credit because it's largely for folks who are using water to irrigate on property. But there are other uses that, of course, that don't result in water going into the sewer. But that's 20% is built into every sewer bill, and that will stay going forward as well.
I see. Okay, thank you. Okay, members, any follow-up questions? Seeing none. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Members, any further discussion on any of the bills? Councilmember Okimoto, followed by Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to express my concerns also with Bill 59. I did have some concerns on how they will, I realize that this is for city properties at this time, but I do think that it will have an impact on our vendors and stores. And I think, still dealing with businesses trying to come out of COVID, I think that this will negatively impact that. So I am voting with reservations on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I wanted to mahalo the students of Holomua Elementary School. I had a great meeting with them, I want to say it was like a month ago, where they presented the research they're doing on ocean acidification, and they're going to be coming to, one of the upcoming HSH committee meetings to present their work, right? And I think one of the big questions they asked was, what is the city doing to reduce our use and reliance on plastic? And so for me, I think that was a big part of why I wanted to sign on to Bill 59, just given how low-hanging fruit it is, right? Like, of course, it's within the city's purview to decide what we want to sell or have on our properties. And so that was kind of the reasoning behind it. I've heard some of the concerns of our colleagues, and so, of course, would largely defer to you too on your insight, but am open to potential modifications of the bill. But understanding that in its original form, I think the intention was to present a completely not controversial low-hanging fruit, and especially given just the desire of our youth in our community to see leadership from this body on just the issues they see facing them and their future. So I just wanted to share that and really mahalo them, because I think they're really at the forefront, our youth in particular, in ensuring that government stays on track, right? So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. I'm in support of Bill 59. I appreciate that it is at city facilities as well as the different timelines to take effect at facilities as well as events and programs. And I'm in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, I believe there's a number of reservations, but there doesn't seem to be any objections. So I'd like to call, are there any objections to either of the bills? If none, noting no objections and noting reservations already mentioned, but I'll give opportunity. Any other reservations?
Chair reservations. Oh,
Councilmember Okimoto, reservations on 59. I
And
have
60.
Kia Aina and 60.
Yes.
Reservations from Councilmember Kia Aina on 59 and 60?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Cordero, reservations on 60? Councilmember Wire, you good with either one?
I mean, there'll be discussion, but at first reading, I don't feel the need to reservation.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Tupola?
Reservations on both.
Councilmember Say or, no? Okay. Thank you very much. I just want to register reservations on Bill 60. Therefore, first reading items on page 8 of the agenda have passed first reading. Okay, members, it's now 12:15. Shall we keep going or you want to take a quick break for lunch?
Break.
Break. Okay, let's take a break for lunch. Let's come back at 1:15. 1:15. Thank you, members. We're in recess.